Hello, everybody. This is Go Big with Mika, the Confidence series. I'm your host, Mika Go Big. I am a writer, speaker, coach, whatever in matters of confident leadership. So that's my big topic. And today I am super excited to be talking to Nikita Williams. I've known her for a while, like a year or so, and
Yeah.
she is coach extraordinaire. I have had a session with her and I loved it. And actually, here, right there, there's my there's
I love it. I love it. I love it.
that is actually for those of you who don't recognize what this is. This is oils, and they help me with my brain fog. And so that's one of the big things I took away from our session. So,
It's
but
amazing.
before we dive into the super important topic of self advocacy, I'll tell our audience a little bit more about Nikita. She is an award winning mindset business coach, certified professional essential oil specialist. There you go. Speaker, host of an amazing podcast. She's crafted to thrive. Listen to that one, that's a really good one. She's been featured on Rising Tide, the Jasmine Star Show, and the Simplifiers podcast. So, and a little bit about her backstory. In 2009 and 2010, Nikita was diagnosed with endometriosis and fibromyalgia. I should have worked on that word a little more.
It's okay. I still trip up on it too.
This diagnosis inspired her to use her curated experiences in photography, real estate, and community event planning to jumpstart her career online, first as a digital marketer. And she learned that having a chronic illness did not limit her potential. I think that's such an important message. So that's, in fact, it helped her to see the possibilities for herself and her clients. So her coaching method incorporates psychoaromatherapy, positive psychology, creativity, and business strategy to help her clients have a complete life and business transformation. She aims to help all creative women, but especially those with chronic illnesses, go from feeling limited to limitless so that they can create a life and business and thrive in their own way. Welcome, Nikita. So happy to have you. And I really would like to start us off just by you telling people a little more about who you are and what you're passionate about these days.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. I am excited. I'm so excited to talk about what we're going to talk about today because I think it is really the foundation for confidence in a lot
Yeah.
of different ways. But for me, I was just talking about this conversation with someone else yesterday about like how my business has been a a journey of my own self growth as a person living with chronic illness. And I haven't
Yeah.
always lived with chronic illness, as it was mentioned. So it has definitely been like a reawakening learning of how to really be Nikita with the chronic illnesses that I deal with. But I have found so much power. I've been empowered in such a way through this journey that I wouldn't take it back in the sense. I mean, would
Mhm.
I like not to have endometriosis and fibromyalgia and a few other things? Of course. But the
Yes.
lessons I've learned have been amazing and in my journey. So yeah.
Yeah. And I just have to say, I encounter you. I've encountered you over the months pretty regularly, and I feel you have this amazing positive energy. And I love how you say, "Okay, I need a break, or I can't do this right now." The
Yeah.
way you have learned to set boundaries, that takes a lot of confidence. And of course, then the self advocacy piece is the huge piece behind it, taking care of
Yeah.
yourself and making making your cause. So
Yeah.
um, maybe you tell us a little bit more about how that journey went for you before we talk
Yeah.
about how you help your clients.
Yeah. I mean, for me, self advocacy to me personally in this journey
Hmm.
of living with chronic pain and chronic illness has literally been like the best relationship with self I've had. I was just telling a friend of mine yesterday, I'm like, I feel like I am so happy with who I am as a person now. Like, do I so sorry.
Someone is not happy with you as a person right now.
I can't breathe. Sorry about that. That's
No
my
worries,
Zoe
no
having
worries. We all have that happen.
my Zoe having her moment because FedEx is dropping off something. I have learned that self-advocacy really has been a process of learning about myself, like being really good with who I am, even the not so great things, like the mindset uckies, I like to call them, the things that I'm working on myself. But I've just learned that for me to best like be me, I have to embrace that I'm always going to be a work in process, and that's okay. Like, that's okay.
Right.
And that has been a huge part of me being like confident, being like able to speak what I want, where I want to go, what I need. And it's just been from a place of like first really realizing, who am I, right? What are my strengths? And then also like, what are the things that I'm working through, and how am I leveraging the challenges I might be experiencing in my own personal journey? So that has been a huge part of my, I feel like it's all full circle. Everything comes from that place. You were saying earlier, like I can't, I just posted about this somewhere. I was like, I now choose the words of I will not, right? I choose not to, or I will pass, because I feel like I cannot used to be a very default response for myself.
Yeah.
That removed my ability to actually make decisions for myself and to know why I'm making those decisions. So it has definitely been an awareness growth process of understanding how my body is and how I work in different challenging times of my life. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, yeah, and I think, I mean, that's the specific challenge you had, was that your body sort of, I don't know if I want to say forced you in that direction, but yeah, right. I mean,
Yeah,
you had
I
to
think the
learn
thing
it.
I like, yeah, like it's like it wasn't a, well, I mean, I had to learn it, but I also had to like agree to learn it, because I couldn't
Yeah.
still
Yes.
be in
Yes.
the place that I was, you know, several years ago. Before, I like always tell clients and people, and they're like, Nikita, you're so positive. I'm like, I wasn't always. Like, it took me a minute
Yeah.
to get to this place of being okay. For a very long time, I was like, why me? Why is it so hard? Just really just all of the negative things you could think about during that process. And so for me, it's definitely been a growing of like, well, why not me? And how can I learn from this and grow as a person and really just harness all of the goodies of the learning of what's happening during this process? And it's really empowered me in such a beautiful way. I definitely think from a spiritual standpoint, I have really learned what it means to not lean on your own understanding and your own power, but from a stand in the sense of like knowing you need help and being okay with that.
And that is one of the hardest lessons for a lot of women to learn, asking
Yeah.
for help, right?
Yeah.
Because many of us are still so conditioned. We are the helpers, we are the caretakers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when you live with chronic illness, um, then it shifts at times completely.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting because that there's a like a weird I wouldn't say a weird, but it's more like a complex situation.
Yes.
Because when you live with chronic illness, you're the only one that can explain and talk about and like inside your body deal with the pain. You can't
Right.
outsource that, right? But
Yes.
what in my journey, what I had to learn to do is how to speak in a way that honors what I'm feeling, but also inform someone else how to respond to me and how they can help me in what I'm experiencing. And that is an art. That is a
Yeah.
skill. Like that is a skill that when you learn to do that for yourself as someone living with pain constantly, it
Yeah.
starts to bleed into all of these other areas of your life, your business, your relationships, because now you're able to take what you know about yourself, what you're feeling about yourself, and be able to ask the right questions and ask for the right help
Yeah.
when you need
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And that is amazing. And something we discussed, or you discuss on your platforms too, is that this for this journey to self advocacy as a creative, as a person with chronic illness, but everybody else too, starts with allowing your feelings and not judging yourself,
Yeah. Yeah.
and from
Yeah.
there learning to trust your intuition.
Yeah.
So we might have people watching this, and always feel free to drop questions or comments in the chat. Um, we might have people who's like, "How am I not judging myself?" And then that intuition, how do I get to that point?
Yeah. I think, especially many of us who are creative in some way, shape, or form, or living with physical, invisible, or
Hmm.
visible disabilities, deal with not self deprecating ourselves for what we
Hmm.
may not be able to do in a certain moment or time. Um, in my personal journey living with chronic illness, there's a period of time where I used to like just beat myself up so much mentally about having to reschedule an appointment or
Yeah.
having not to show up for something, or at a
Hmm.
time when I did used to work for like corporate, having my coworkers taken to the hospital, like things like that, that you're like beating yourself up for, that you don't even give yourself space to deal with the fact that you are in pain, or
Yeah.
you're having challenges in your journey. And that's just really been something I've had to learn. Like, there's nothing wrong with feeling upset, there's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
feeling pain, there's nothing wrong. These are just symptoms of what's really going on, and I have to embrace them, in the sense of like, I have to acknowledge them,
Yeah.
because the more that I don't acknowledge them, the more I react in a very not good way, like for myself
Hmm.
and for those around me. And so it's really empowering when you can get to a point of being like, in any circumstance, right? Feeling like I can step away, I can pause, I can take a moment to just be with myself if I
Yeah.
need to do that, and not have any shame around it. And I think that takes work. Are there
Yeah.
ups and downs of that? Of course.
Of course, yeah. But I think you just said the word that was on my mind while you were talking, shame, because shame is like it's like the worst
Yeah.
energy. It just it's it really brings us down like nothing else. And getting
Yeah,
out of that shame pitfall.
yeah. I never heard it more clear than a coach saying to me, shame is I am wrong. Like, everything
Yeah,
about me is
yeah,
wrong, versus
yeah.
feeling guilty or worried like, oh, this
Hmm.
situation is,
Yeah.
jacked up. Like, I wish I could do
Oh, yeah,
something different. But that shame is the I am
yeah,
wrong, which, if you live with chronic illness, is a battle in itself, because you feel like your
right.
body is against you and you have all of these things. But one of the things that have really helped me, and that I also love to help my clients to do, is like learning that your body is just trying to protect you. It is trying to
Hmm.
alert you to
Yeah.
you needing to pay attention to the things that are going on, and how to articulate that to someone else when you need help.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because that is the no pun intended, healthy reframe, like mentally healthy reframe
Yeah,
for yourself. But I mean, this is hard work. I mean,
it's a lot of work.
you are not shy about that, and you help your clients with that as well. So how do you usually do that, or what are the big starting points for them to develop that kind of self advocacy that you have learned? How do you help them develop?
It looks different for like
Mhm.
everybody. I always like to tell people it looks different, but what I do see when I work with my clients, we always start with awareness. How often are we shaming ourselves because
Mhm.
of our pain? How often are we overcompensating by doing more because we feel less than, without
Yeah.
asking for help? So a lot of those different things come from being aware. Am I pushing through because I must, or am I pushing through because I'm trying not to be seen limited, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of awareness that starts with my clients of being like, where are the feelings? What are the things happening? What are you rushing through in order to hide, right? In order to hide. And self-advocacy, when I talk about self-advocacy, I'm specifically talking about a lot of times the embodiment and the embracement of the fact that you being good with yourself will be a reflection of how the world views you and how you speak to those in your world. And so if you're constantly beating yourself up and you're not aware that it's happening, right? Then it's hard to start to actually ask the right questions, ask the right things you need from people, the support systems you need to build. So we really start with that. Like, one of the first things you could think about is how often are you saying to yourself, I have to push through,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? I got to push through this because da 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 da.
Yeah,
How
and I
often are
think
you
that
saying that?
that's actually that is already also the bridge. If you're watching this and chronic illness is not something you're experiencing or living with, and you're a woman in corporate, this is a good question to ask yourself too, right? Because we all know that. Huh? I mean, it might not be as physically dangerous to push through
But if
for
you're,
someone, but mentally it's the same poison. And
yeah,
it is really, I love that question. When am I pushing through when I really don't need to, just because I want
yeah,
to be part of the pack and not some outsider, or I have something to prove that I can
yeah,
do it. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that's an experience probably. I mean, most people can relate to most women for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And uh, and there, I mean, there's a big empathy lesson in that, isn't it? I mean, self empathy,
I
and
didn't hear that.
also
Yes,
there's
yes,
an empathy piece, self empathy, and also empathy for others
yeah, yeah,
in this lesson.
yeah. Yeah, and it's really powerful when you start, like, the first thing I always tell folks that I work with is just like write down how many times you're having that thought in an hour
Hmm.
or in a day, and it blows their mind, just being like,
Yeah.
how many times did I tell myself to push through?
Hmm.
And it's like getting aware of, like, there are times we know, especially as women, there are times we do need to quote unquote push through, but
Right.
how are we doing it? Like, how are
Right.
we doing it? And how often are we doing it? And that
Yeah.
to me is really important. To, like you said, it doesn't matter if you have a chronic illness or not, just in general, being a woman, we
Yeah.
are constantly told we must push through, right? We're like, you got this,
Right.
you can do this, you're all, whatever. But it doesn't serve our ability to actually have a sustainable career in our jobs, or even have
Yeah.
a healthy relationship with ourselves.
Yeah. And I mean, uh, taking it a little bit out of that context of the chronic illness to just being a woman and being in a female body, everybody knows that, going back to, I don't know, middle school or whenever you started your cycles, right? This pushing
Yeah,
through, this I have to show up anyway, that shame thing. I mean, yeah, we all know this thing, like not being able to participate in sports and sitting on a bench and everything. Those things, right?
yeah,
It's a
yeah.
terrible start to being accepting of what your body does. And
Mm.
I'm very excited that we're having more of those conversations as well. Also, I'm 51. I'm very excited about the menopause conversations going on.
Yeah,
It's huge, right? I mean, nobody
yeah,
used to have them. And that is that is very different. And I think it's the same thing.
yeah.
Your
And
body
I think
might need different things.
yeah, and I think the big thing, Misha, is that people, I think people put into like a bucket in general, right? They're like, you're experiencing menopause, so it looks like this.
It looks
You
like
have
this, yeah.
endometriosis, and it looks like this.
Hmm.
And the reality is that it is not the same for every person, woman living with these things. So that's where the self-advocacy from our point of view has to come in. Because
Right.
if we are not clear on the differences within ourselves, we cannot articulate, we cannot ask for things to be different, because people are assuming, and we're letting them assume that it looks
Right.
what they think it looks like.
Right. And I really love that. It's like it's everybody's own experience, and it feels good when you meet someone who has a similar experience. You say, oh my God, I'm not the only one. This is important. But you
Yeah.
still have a right to your own experience of whatever you're dealing with.
Yes.
And
Exactly.
whatever your body is throwing at you, so to speak.
Yeah. Yeah.
No? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So when we take that self-advocacy piece to work, literally, let's say you have plenty of experience in very different work environments. Let's take it into corporate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think many women are afraid, or I mean, women in general are usually not trained to be their best advocate.
Yes, it's true. It's true. And it's funny. It's funny because I don't think the system is not set up that way for you to know what your rights are. And I always tell clients, because I've done my self-advocacy work a lot in my own business. But what I know now, if I were to work in a corporate environment, I would be so much more informed, empowered to speak and ask for the things I need. And one of the things is, like, first really understanding, if you're working in a corporate environment, what are their parameters around being able to accommodate you and the situation of what you're going through from a health standpoint. They have to. This is HR 101, and having conversations with your HR rep, specifically in your company, is huge and important. You don't have to delve into all of the information. That's something I think women don't know. You don't have to tell them all of these personal things. You just need to tell them what you need and how it's needed because of something. And I think that comes first with yourself. Like, it comes first with knowing,
what do I need? Oops. Did we lose our connection here? Oh. Is my internet? Let's see if we can. I am not quite sure if that problem, it seems to be not on my side for once. I don't know. Let's see if we can get Nikita back here. But let me just comment on what Nikita said last. That self-advocacy piece, what do you need for yourself? And really starting with the legal environment, telling your HR people what you need. I really think this is so important, because you have certain rights. Start there, and because that is like what it's established. So that is the not easy part, but it's the part where probably you can let go of guilt most easily, just because it's a legal consideration, and HR people are trained to handle it. That can still be super complicated, of course, but it's really a good starting point. And as Nikita also said, you don't have to tell everybody a lot of details. That's really a very important point. You're not obliged to share your entire story, and because that again makes you extremely vulnerable. And if you is probably not the environment where you would be comfortable with that, and that's okay. That's okay. So now I'm not sure if we're getting Nikita back. I think if Nikita isn't back in a few minutes, I would like you to reach out with your questions. Let us know what you would like to know, and I would love to bring her back on for another session, because there are a lot of things. Oh, there she is. There she is. There are a lot of things I haven't asked her yet. So let's see. Is there Mercury in retrograde, or what are we dealing with right now? I have no idea.
It's the hurricane. So we are not in Florida, but we're
Yeah.
getting the wind, and it's knocking all of our stuff out. So
I'm sorry. I hope
weather.
you're safe. You're safe.
Oh, we're
I hope
safe.
you're safe.
It's just really windy. Yeah, we're safe.
Yeah. So the last thing we talked about was people taking advantage of the rules that exist in their legal environment, in their company, to get what they need. What would you tell people in communicating, self-advocating, when it comes to promotion cycles and these things? I think we lost her again. I think we lost her again, but we might give in to Hurricane Ian here, and I'll talk to Nikita to come back on another time and continue that conversation. I think that makes most sense. Yep, we will do that. I still hope you found value in what we talked about so far. I'll bring her back on. Please let us know your questions so that we can cover them when we talk next. And next week, I'm going to be on this LinkedIn Live on Go Big with Mika by myself, because I have a lot of new people, a lot of new connections on LinkedIn, and I would like to share my 5-step confidence framework with you. So if you haven't heard that yet, I would love for you to join me next week to go over my key 5 steps to increase your confidence. I'll see you next week. Hope you're well. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.